Eli Harris and Amanda.
What
Hi,
up?
friends.
Morning.
All right, you guys want to open with a win really quickly while Anna gets this live streamed? Who's got a win for us?
I have a win.
Go.
Closed yesterday on my first one. Yay.
Uh,
How
Thanks, guys.
exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Here we go.
Anybody else? Eli, you got something?
yes, Allison finally comes back today.
It's a win. It's your girl home.
I had a few people saying they had Allison withdrawals, and I was like, I don't know if that's good or bad. I think that's like they're like, we need the crazy, we need the spicy burrito back.
They need that energy.
It's like when Taco Bell takes away their like spicy burrito, and then everyone waits for it to come back,
Yeah. Amazing. I feel like I was having Allison withdrawals, and I love that we have to, like, it has to be a work thing for us to hang out. Like, we're like, yes, we'll Zoom together.
It does have to be a work thing for
It's
me,
good
which
luck.
probably reflects a little bit poorly on my social skills, but you know what? We all have our talents. All right, we were opening this up, and Daryn's book recommendation actually was The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And if you missed it, the conversation was that I think sometimes we avoid things and we like build up hard conversations in our head, and we go 3 weeks or 2 weeks of like stressing about it, and then you do the one hard thing, and then what you were looking for is on the other side of that, and it really wasn't so bad after all. And so that was kind of like the topic of what we were talking about before everybody got on, and her book recommendation. So I put that in the chat, and I think we're good. So Daryn, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, good morning, guys. I'm happy to see like some friends, some friendly faces here. There's another friendly face. Yay, Taylor's here. My name's Daryn. I am the director of sales with the Joan Kelly Group. I have a history of real estate that's a little bit weird. I've actually never sold a house, and I love to like say that up front. I've bought and sold my own properties, but I've never done it with a client. I started on kind of like the marketing and event planning side, like a little bit more administrative, and then led a brokerage of 280 agents. I launched a national expansion team, which was super fun last year. And then about 6 months ago, I came home to work with the Joan Kelly Group out of Bluffton. So I missed the Lowcountry too much to be here. So now I work with JKG. We have 10 active agents. We'll sell about 250 homes this year, about 3.5 million in volume. So that's who we are in GCI, I should say, not sales volume. So that's who we are and who I am. And I am lucky to be friends with Allison, and so glad that you invited me to be on. So thanks for having me today.
Oh, thanks for coming. We appreciate it. This is all about collaboration, and it's really just about, I think we go faster and further together. You know what I mean? So we're all here to lift each other up. And so thank you for everyone that is here. We love for this to be interactive. We don't like for our guests to feel like they're just talking at you. So you guys, cameras on, if you can, unmute and engage, and take it away.
Yeah, I would love to see your smiling faces. It's so funny. I teach a course called Ignite that's for new agents on Zoom. It's like they're around the country. And I love, like, I ask them, all to turn their cameras on, and they're so shy about it at first. And then I like tell them, you might not know me yet, but I will. I'm probably more patient than you. So like, I'll just smoke you out. Like, I'll just sit here in silence until someone says something. So hopefully we won't have to do that today. I don't think we will. But when Allison asked me to jump on, I was like, cool, like, what do you want me to talk about? And she was like, just whatever you want. I'm like, cool, great, that's super easy. But in thinking about what conversations I've been having recently with my team, with my peers, conversations that I'm seeking out with the leaders that I look to, it keeps coming back to mindset. And I know you probably feel like you hear that word a lot. You might feel like you hear it a lot. It might feel annoying. But I'm a pretty big believer that every obstacle we face, every challenge that we have can be corrected, or we can move through it with a change in our mindset. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, but I'm just curious, like, before I get started, where is everyone's, if you had to describe your mindset in a word, a couple words, like, where are you at today? Like, you woke up this morning, maybe you're like an affirmations person, you got it out there, or maybe you're like me and your brain starts like racing before the alarm clock even goes off, and it's telling you like all the things that you didn't do yesterday and all the things you have to do today. Like, Where would you say your head is at right now?
I got a full night of sleep without my cat meowing 10,000 times, so that was a positive for me.
That's a
I woke up this
win.
morning.
That's good for your brain, Eli. I'm glad to hear
So
that.
it started out with a positive, worked out. I don't know. I'm feeling good, feeling good.
Good. Who else? Where are you guys at? Especially, I mean, some of you are new, some of you have been in the market for a long time and you're seeing, I mean, I think you're seeing the same market that I'm seeing that's different than it was 6 months ago, different than it was 2 years ago. It's been pretty much nonstop change for the last couple of years.
I mean, sorry, just to kind of piggyback a little bit in regards to actual real estate, is that I still feel like inventory for a particular type of property is still very low, and I feel like you're having to stay front and center with a lot of those people all of the time. So that's kind of like a tough thing, right? So that's just I don't know, something I've been feeling a lot lately.
Yeah, I think it is a lot of it's like you're seeing different markets at different price points. Are you guys seeing that, right? Like and I
So
think
hard
that
to catch on
requires,
to.
yeah, it
feel like
requires a
you're-
lot more like brain space to keep up with, like you have a different answer when someone says how's the market, right? Because it's like, okay, well, are we talking about like under 400? Are we talking about like 4 to a million? Or are we talking about a million plus? Because like there's probably even sub markets within there. Yeah, what else? Like what do you, or I should phrase it this way. Do you feel like there's anything that's holding you back as far as your mindset right now? Like what limiting beliefs are you facing today?
So I'm Stephanie. Sorry, I'm
Hey,
driving, so I don't
Stephanie.
have my camera on. Sorry.
You're good. Be safe.
My mind today feels very tug of war-ish. Like we have 18 contracts closing in the next 2 weeks for my whole team. So it's like
Awesome.
putting out fires, but at the same time also like super motivated to prospect a new business.
Mhm.
And so it's very, my mind today woke up very tug of war-ish, like in both directions of, you know, getting people to the closing table without having a nervous breakdown, and also, oh, let's go get new business. This is fun and exciting.
Yeah. Okay. I love that because I just, first of all, congratulations, Stephanie. That's incredible. Like 18 under contract is awesome. And I love that you're waking up and still looking for new business, because I think there are a lot of people who would be like, 18 under contract, I'm going on vacation. Like, I don't even care about what comes next. So that's amazing. You're definitely not alone, I think, in that kind of tug of war. And I read something the other day that the people who are most like balanced in their life are able to accept the both ends of the spectrum that they exist in at any given time. Because I think the reality is, like, you can feel both stressed and at peace. You can feel excited and nervous. You can feel all of those things at once. So good for you for like recognizing that you're feeling both of those right now. And I love that you brought up the term putting out fires, because this is one of my like real estate pet peeves, I guess I'll say. I always tell my agents, you're not actually firefighters, and the only fire in real estate is if the house is burning down, in which case you can't help anyways, call the fire department. But I totally recognize there are crazy things that happen right throughout the transaction, throughout just working with people. And I think it comes back to what we were just saying a minute ago, that the obstacle is the way. And I just heard something a couple of weeks ago. I was in a class called, it was about value, like presenting your value, right, to your clients, because I think we're all faced with really investigating how we present our value to both buyers and sellers, right? As we're in the news with lawsuits and, you know, people are thinking my realtor is going to work for free. We have to be thoughtful about how we explain to them the value that we provide. And I heard someone say, if nothing remarkable happens, then there's nothing to remark about. And what he meant by that is, if there's no problem in the transaction, there's no fire that you get to put out, there's kind of a chance that they're going to think your job's really easy, that you didn't really do that much, that they could have done this on their own. And that's not to say that I wish anyone has a fire or an emergency in their real estate transaction, but one thing that I try to do in my personal life is I always say I'm like reframing my thinking, right? Because if this is the issue at hand, like I might be looking at it over here and I need to actually like go like this, or maybe I need to like zoom out. So when we face a challenge, the reframe that I try to think of is, this is my chance to shine. What do I want them to say at the end of this transaction? What do I want them to, you know, write in that Google review that they can say, it almost went to shit. Like it almost went down the drain. Things were intense and it was stressful. And my agent stayed calm and collected. My agent made the phone call, had the hard conversation, knocked on doors to figure it out, showed up at the attorney's office to, get it done. So I think that sometimes we look for, like Allison was saying, like we're looking for the path of least resistance. And if you just flip flop that and say, like, how can I just find the resistance today and just push through it? You're going to get to the other side a lot faster. And next time you hit that same resistance, it'll be a lot easier, right? Like the muscle of like repetition, it works in our brains the same way it works in our body. Like if you do that exercise enough, if you have enough conversations with sellers about reducing the price or why their house is not worth what they think it's worth, like you do it enough and it becomes a lot easier. I'm sure, Allison, you've had enough of those conversations, right? The first time you had to tell someone that their house is not worth what they thought it was worth, it probably stressed you out. You're like, it's like telling someone that their baby is ugly. Nobody wants to hear it. They don't believe it. Like they just don't think it, right? And you've done it enough times now that you probably don't even think about it. It's a little bit of a reflex.
Second nature, it seems to me so easy, but that's also the hard part as a team leader turning around now as I've trained that muscle and I can't understand when I'm like, well, just go have the conversation. Like, can't you just go tell them that their baby's ugly?
Yeah. It's a little bit like, it's kind of like, have you ever like tried to teach a kid to like ride a bike? You're like, I don't know. You don't remember learning because you just did it. Like you just, you got on the bike and you did it. But I also use that example for agents who are like at a point in their career where they're like, yeah, but I don't know how to blank. Can I shadow you? Can I watch you? Yes, like those things are all great. And I could talk to you all day about learning how to swim. I could talk about how you kick your feet and you need to like breathe and you need to like keep your head up and you need all these things. Until you get in the water, you are not going to learn how to swim. Period. So like what's the pond that you're trying to jump in, and with the pond analogy, I like this. So this is an Alex Hormozy quote. He said, "Fear is a mile wide and an inch deep." You think that it's this big giant thing that you have to like swim through, and a lot of times if you just take that first step and jump in it, you don't even have to learn how to swim. You just got to walk across a little bit of water. So I think that that's an important reminder. And the one I will tell you guys, this is like when I come to mindset, I usually come back to these two affirmations, which anybody an affirmation person here? Yeah, Al, I love affirmations. I like shout them in the car if I'm driving or like like sing them to myself. If you heard me when I'm alone, it's a little unnerving probably. I also like to like write them, and I find that there's kind of like two kinds of affirmations. Sometimes I write the affirmation that I actually feel. Like I'm like Eli, I wake up, I feel good, and I'm like, I'm in control. I am smart. I am strong. I am brave, whatever. And sometimes I wake up feeling like I am completely out of control. I'm going to tell myself, I am in control. I am in control. I am in control. Whatever, whatever the affirmation needs to be. But these are two that you guys have to let me explain them after I share them, but they're two that I often come back to. It's nobody's going to die. And then the second one is everybody's going to die. And let me explain what I mean by that. Okay. So you're freaking out. You've got like the fire to put out. Stephanie's like, I've got 18 people calling me and my team's going crazy and they're learning how to do all these things. I like to sit back and say, you know what? We work in real estate. It is an important job. It requires our due diligence. It requires our full attention. And no one is going to die as the result of this transaction. No one is going to lose their life. Now, I'm not telling you to be frivolous. I'm not telling you to be flippant and, avoid your responsibilities, or, you need to be a fiduciary. You need to take care of your clients and put their interests ahead of your own. You need to take care of their, money, but no one is going to die. This one's an easy one for me to remember. My sister is a doctor. If she messes up at work, someone could die, right? So when she calls me at the end of the day and she tells me how stressed she is and she's feeling like the weight of the world on her shoulders, I kind of go, okay, I don't need to be as stressed out as I am right now, right? So sometimes I have to remind myself, like, look around you. Your life is good. Like, you are alive. You woke up today. You live in the Lowcountry. I think most of you, some of you maybe are not here. You live in a place you want to live. You work with the people that you want to work with. You have an opportunity to earn, crazy money in this awesome industry that we work in. Like, life is not that bad. No one's going to die. So that's the first one that I remind myself. And then the second one is everybody's going to die. Okay. This is the one that like, sometimes people are like, oh, what? We all have a limited time here. In 100 years, 150 years, everyone that we know will not be here anymore. Right? So there's probably things that you're afraid of. I know there are things that I stop and I'm afraid of. Like you're afraid to make that reel or post it on Instagram, or you're afraid to like, sound silly when you're talking to a seller for the first time or door knocking. I'm going to be real with you. We're all going to die. Like this is a short life. No one's going to remember the moment that you were awkward. You'll remember it more than anyone else. And 9 times out of 10, I think people respect the effort. So our lives will all come to an end probably sooner than we like to believe or hope. So we have to do the things that are right for us, that are right for our families, have to take some risks sometimes and do things that feel a little bit scary. So those are strange ones, but they're the two that I kind of keep coming back to. I tell myself, nobody's gonna die. Everybody's gonna die. Is that too weird? Was that too like heavy for 8:30 in the morning?
No, I love it. I'm posting it on Instagram right now. I hope everybody reads it.
Then you beat me to it.
Yeah, I truly like, I don't know what when that like came to me, but I'll tell you another one since we're on the affirmations path. I used to say this one when I was like a newbie and feeling very like inexperienced in the business. I would say I'm where I'm supposed to be and I'm doing the best I can. Because that's the only thing you can do. Like put yourself in the place where you're supposed to be and do the best you can do with what you have right there. Now, if you realize that you're not where you're supposed to be, fix that. And if you realize you're not doing the best you can, fix that. Those are the only things that we have control over. Those are the only things that we can change, right? We can change the environment that we're in. And sometimes that's like physical, like I just need to like step out of this office and go home, or I need to like leave home and get into the office, right? So are you where you're supposed to be? And are you doing the best you can? And if you can answer those 2 questions and say, yes, I'm where I'm supposed to be. Yes, I'm doing the best that I can, like the best of my ability right now today, then you can take a deep breath. Like you can calm down and keep going. Like don't let the anxiety and the stress of it, get to you. Because if you're where you're supposed to be and you're doing the best that you can, I think that's like Dora the Explorer gave me that one. Like do your best because that's the best you can do. That's a Dora quote directly that I use all the time. So I think that like sometimes for me, these little quips, I say them enough in my head that when I get into that fire that I'm fighting, when I get into that hard conversation, I like slow myself down. I say like, I'm where I'm supposed to be and I'm doing the best I can. Right? Like no one else is going to come tell you that. Right? We're big kids now, we're independent contractors. I know we're on teams or we surround ourselves with people who can like give us that pat on the back, but like you are the grown up that gets to take care of you. So treat yourself that way. Like treat yourself like you're someone that you're caring for. I oftentimes think too of like, would you tell the things that you're telling yourself, would you tell a child? Like your kid comes to you and says like, I want to sell 100 houses. Would you say like, well, that's impossible for you. You don't have what it takes to do that. No, you'd be like, that's amazing. Where do we start? Let's go learn together. Let's figure it out. You have what it takes. Like, I know you can do it. I believe in you. Sometimes I just have to talk to myself like I'm talking to little Daryn. So
we were in I don't remember what we were doing a few weeks ago. We all got together and we started talking about limiting mindsets. And there's people that, you look at people, right? And they say, well, you don't have a limiting mindset. And then you look at the people that are higher than you and you say, well, gosh, you don't have a limiting mindset. And it's not true, right? We all have limitations that we put on ourselves. And I remember when I first got into real estate, the person that I was interviewing said, like, you can't do that, right? Like you can't do what your goal was. And so I believed it. I really did. I was like, well, then I guess I can't do that. And so then shame on me, right? I started a team and there really weren't teams in the Lowcountry at the time. And I didn't know what that meant. And somebody told me to read a book and all of the things. And I remember one of my first team members said, I want to make $350,000 on a team. And I said, I don't think you can do that. I mean, I remember being like, I don't think you can do that. And what's funny is I sat in front of that person doing a team leader meeting and he did that on my team. And now he's running his own team. Right. And making quadruple that. And so we limit ourselves and we sometimes look at other people that are doing the things that we want to do and think, well, they don't have limitations. And we all have limitations. And the reason that we're here is to collaborate and connect with people that have just bigger limitations than you do.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I tell the newbies that when I teach like the new like real estate 101 class too, your limited thinking, in my opinion, never goes away. I've never met anyone with truly unlimited thinking, and I've met some like huge thinking billionaires. Like I know people who are living the life that like you and I think is like impossible, right? And I've worked for some of them and I see them and they have limiting beliefs as well. What they're better at is number one, noticing when they have it. And then number two, correcting it, like adjusting it. Like, and that's something that I'm fortunate that I've picked up. I recognize a little bit faster now. I go like, why did I say that? Like, why? Yes, I can, right? And that's a muscle too. And one thing that I had a coach teach me is that sometimes, we've created these systems in our brain, like we've created these ways of thinking. Sometimes we have to spend some time in awareness of that cycle before we're ready to like move on from it. Right. At first it was like unconscious. It was just like, this is my way of operating. Like, this is, I can make $100,000 a year, but that's it. And I'm just here. And then for a while, you're going to be in this phase of like discomfort because you're going to recognize that that's actually not serving you. That thinking, that way of being is not serving you any longer. But maybe you're still figuring out how to like let go of those beliefs and move on. So sometimes I think one of the hardest places to be, like there is a little bit of that like ignorance is bliss. Like before you knew you had limiting beliefs, before you knew that like there was like a life on the other side of where you were probably fine. And now you're like, dang it, I'm uncomfortable. Like I know that there's more. I know I can be more and do more. And I have people who are pushing me and challenging me and supporting me in my growth, right? So sometimes you have to like sit in that cycle of awareness before you're ready to like move on. But the people who are really good at it or really super successful, I think are just great at recognizing the things that don't serve them. And I think that as a culture, sometimes we have this idea that like it's selfish to think of things that serve ourselves. But I'm a big believer that you can't pour from an empty cup. I know you guys have heard that one, and I believe it to be true. So I think about, the friendships that I have or the relationships that I have, and I don't hesitate to ask, does this serve me? Is this serving me? And sometimes you have a friendship with somebody that's just like a goofball and they make you laugh and they're fun to hang out with on the weekends, and that's serving you. Like that's okay. You're getting something out of it. But like there is always a value exchange. Like there's always a give and take, and that's not a selfish way of looking at it. That's not that doesn't mean you're going to be unkind to people. It doesn't mean you're going to like, cut people off and say like screw you, but you might decide to make more time for the relationships that are serving you, or make more time for the Zooms or the events or the places that are actually serving you, because it's so easy to do things because you think you're supposed to, right? Well, I always go to the board meeting because I'm supposed to. For what? For why? Like, is it, are you contributing? Are you networking? Are you getting something out of it? Are you giving? Like, that's a value too. But don't be afraid to question, like, is this serving me? So I'm curious, I know a couple, like Angela's like into the affirmations. I'm curious, what are your go-tos? I mean, I shared some with you like of mine, but I feel like you probably all have them, even if you don't know it yet. What's your go-to that like gets you through the hard thing? Like if the affirmation or the reframing of your thinking, like what's the thing that helps you get through the hard thing or helps you do the hard thing? Like make the phone call that you don't want to make or start the lead gen that you're just not feeling it today. How do you guys do that?
I don't know if this is good or bad, but it's like if I think about it too long, like that's going to be the issue. So it's just do it. Like, all right, so Nike, I guess.
It is the Nike plant. You guys know Mel Robbins. Do you know that name?
Yeah.
Incredible speaker. I got to hear her speak this year, and she has a book called The 5-Second Rule. And I didn't even know about the book, but I saw one of her videos a long time ago, like on YouTube or Instagram or something. And she was explaining the 5-second rule, which is pretty much you have to like beat your brain, right? You have to move your body faster than your brain can come up with the excuses. So it literally is just she kind of like rocket ship countdown, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off. And on blast off, you do the hard thing. And there's some really cool, it's a great book. There's like really cool psychological science behind it, when you count backwards like that, when you count down, you're telling your body like you've already decided to do it. Like you're already committed, right? And you can use it to like this one's so nerdy. I use this to like get out of bed. I'm like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off, and then like I'm up, you know. I used to do it when I had to make hard phone calls or what I perceived to be hard phone calls, you know what I mean? Like the seller client that you don't want to tell them that their house is overpriced, or like you know, you're trying to connect with someone that you think is like a way bigger producer than you and you're like nervous about that phone call. I would like put their number on my phone and I would go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, like hit it before you can even think about it. So Clay, I love that. The just do it, the countdown. If you guys are interested in it, the book is called The 5-Second Rule by Mel Robbins. I can put it in the chat. Totally worth reading.
I have
What
one,
else?
Daryn.
I'll put it in the chat right now.
I'm a big out loud talker. I think this is like so
Yeah.
underrated, but I talk out loud all the time. In fact, I say my kids are going to think one day that I was literally an insane person because I just walk around all day long talking out loud. Because I think it is like, it's good to hear what's going to come out. And yes, maybe you can't control, especially like scripting a conversation that you know you're going to have. Like you can't anticipate everything someone's going to say on the other end. But knowing that my key points are polished and that I've heard what they sound like coming out of my mouth is big. And I know this is something like I was a theater major, so like it's very easy and natural for me to walk around scripting and talking out loud. But I do think it's something to definitely put into your repertoire, because I think speaking it out loud is so much different than just internalizing it, because when it's internalized, it's not real.
Yeah.
So I'm a big out loud talker, and one day someone's going to be like, that girl was certifiably insane because she just talked to no one all day long.
And you know what? I would venture to say they probably had a much smaller life than you. So if they're going to do for it, like go do your thing. Do you guys know Jeff Glover you? He runs conferences and is an instructor. He makes agents on his team, they have to chant their scripts. Like you have to do it out loud verbally. And so I love that. I love it for scripting and committing it to memory. And the same is true for affirmations. And I think that there's something so powerful in like saying something out loud. I mean, I think, okay, like an extreme example. Do you remember like the last time you told someone like that you loved them? Like, and you were like, it was the first time you told them and you were like, it was inside of you and you were nervous and you were like, oh my God, like what's going to happen? And then like, once you put it out there, you were like, oh, like it's okay. Like it's almost like accepting your thoughts or your beliefs. The same is true about like your fears. Sometimes if you just say the thing that you're afraid of, you actually go like, wait, that sounds kind of silly now that I'm like saying it out loud. It's not that big of a deal. So I love the saying it out loud. What
I
else?
have one, Daryn. I have
Amanda's
one.
got
So mine is kind of like what you had mentioned earlier about the nobody's gonna die kind of thing. A little bit different though. Mine is complacency will kill you.
Love
And it is like, get out of bed, whatever you need to do, like insert issue here. Being complacent on that will literally break you, right?
Yeah.
And it depends on what it is. And it might be small, but it might be massive. And somebody once told that to me when I was going through a really hard time, and it wasn't what I wanted to hear when I was going through a hard time, but it was what's really stuck with me, is that being complacent, regardless of what it is, will literally break you. So for me, I use it probably more than I should. But it's,
I love that. It's the concept of like, if you're not growing, you're dying, right? Like there is no such thing in nature, in the world, like nothing sits still. Right. Like the example of like, if you see like a ballerina, like on point, like twirling, right? It looks like they have this beautiful, like they're just holding their feet completely still while they like spin. And if you zoomed in, or if you were a ballet dancer, you would know that they're actually moving their feet super, super fast, like alternating from like one toe to the other, right? So there's no such thing as like as sitting still. You're going backwards, you're dying. It will kill you.
Right.
I love that. Who else? What else are you guys doing to get through your hard stuff? This is the part where I do the like, I'm really
Smoke them out. Smoke them
Smoke them
out.
out, girl. Get it.
Let me just sip my tea here. This is incredible. No one else here even has hard things. That's amazing. I'm like so impressed by this group. I'm just kidding.
I'm on a ferry currently trying to transport to an airport. So if somebody wants to like hop in there for me, I'd
You don't want
appreciate
to
it.
you don't want to announce to the whole fairy how you overcome your mental obstacles. You're not comfortable doing that yet?
I mean, I can.
I'll answer for Allison.
Tell us.
She has a very
He
high,
knows me well enough.
yeah, she has a very high pain threshold. So she can just like push through when most people would probably give up. So
Mm-hmm. And you know,
Yeah, it goes back to Eli's just do it, right?
Right.
Just do it. Like people just sit there and think and ponder and analysis paralysis. And it's like, just do it. I think it's also the fear of failure. And it's like, just stop fearing the failure and just, like the book we were talking about at the beginning, you just got to do it.
Mhm.
yeah, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Michael
Yeah.
Scott.
Michael Scott.
So
No,
good.
like, isn't it like someone else? Eli, Michael Scott. I think that there's a little bit of like choose your hard. Like it's hard to do the hard thing. It's also hard to give up and accept that you didn't do the hard thing. It's also hard to, live up to half your potential. It's hard to make less money than you are actually capable of making. So choose your hard. And if I, I'm also pretty like my leadership style is very like your goal is my goal. And if you tell me that like if you want to make, $30,000 this year, like okay, great. That's your goal. I'm not going to tell you that goal needs to be 300. It's your goal. It's your heart. But choose your hard. Like it's going to be hard in a different way to try to live on $30,000 than it is to make $300,000. They're just two different hard things. So choose your hard and be thoughtful about it. Like pick the one that serves you. And I think it's also important to know that like it's not always like a dollar goal. It's not always a money thing. Like you can choose things that are, maybe the next year you want to make the same amount of money and you want to work half as much. Like that's a real goal and you can do that and you can achieve it. So it doesn't always have to be like, how do I put more in my pocket? Sometimes it's like, how do I add more value to my family? Like, how do I give my kids more experiences? How do I spend more time with my parents? Like those are all choices that you can make.
How do you leverage out? I think is a big one.
What is it?
How do you leverage out?
How do you leverage out? Yeah. And I think, you know what, while we're talking about mindset, leverage requires a certain mindset. A lot of people think that no one can do it as good as me or as fast as me, or it'll take me too much time to teach someone else, or they're going to mess it up. Like, guess what? Yeah, they are going to mess it up. And guess what? You messed it up too when you were first learning. It's again, no one's going to die. Like it's not going to be the end of the world. And how many people are you robbing an opportunity of, like by doing it yourself instead of letting them learn and do it? Because there's someone out there who will like whistle and skip all the way to work to do the job that you hate to do. Right? So find that person, treat them like a human, give them grace that like they will mess up, let them make it their own and give them the opportunity. I think Allison and probably Anna can say that as team leaders, as rainmakers, Taylor knows it, Angela knows it. I'm sure Stephanie knows it. Like that is a limiting belief that I have had to overcome time and time and time again. Like every time you leverage something out, it gets a little bit easier. But the first time, your first hire especially, can be like, like I'm nervous. Is this person gonna like mess it all up? And I think they're not gonna mess it all up, but like, yeah, they're gonna make some mistakes, and that's okay. I think of it
But
too.
at the end of the day, nobody's gonna die and we're all gonna die.
And
So.
nobody's gonna die and we're all gonna die. So like just move on. Let's like keep going. Yeah. And I think I always try to like check myself too. Like we all live highly leveraged lives already. Like, Allison, did you like sew the shirt that you're wearing? Like, did you put together those headphones like
Yeah.
made yourself? Like Eli, did you like install that window? Like no, we trust experts to do things that they're good at in all kinds of parts of our lives. Like we trust people to clean our house and, teach our children and make our food, right? Like we're already leveraged. So just kind of reframe your thinking around that and say like, who is the right person for this? Because it's probably not you. So I know we're a couple minutes over and I'm sure you guys all have to run and I do too. So I want to say thank you for having me. It's been fun to hang out with you guys today. I hope I get to come back and see you sometime. Maybe I'll just pop on next week.
Yes, every Wednesday at 8:30. We appreciate you. And does anybody have anything for Daryn? And if not, she'll put her contact information in the chat and you guys can reach out anytime. We're all about collaboration.
No, just thank you, Daryn. And I want to shout out my client is randomly on this, Janet. She passed the bar, so she's an official attorney. So I just want to shout her out.
Oh,
Go,
thank
Jan.
you so
Wonderful,
much,
Janet.
Eli. I appreciate it. I've been wanting to get on the call before, but I had the bar and I just set everything aside until I was done with it. So I'm excited to be part of it.
Yay.
Well, we're so proud of you.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you. Thanks a lot.
Cool. Yeah.
All right,
Thank you,
guys.
Amanda. Thanks, guys. Give me a shout if you want to reach out, but go have a great Wednesday.
Make it a great day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.